Welcome back, everybody, for another deep dive. This time, we're going to be diving into this fascinating topic of awareness and consciousness.
Okay.
And we're going to be using an article from The Spiritual Seek. Have you ever heard of that?
I have, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's that online resource with articles and tests and all those kinds of things, all related to spirituality and self-discovery.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And so this is one of their articles that kind of goes into the difference between awareness and consciousness.
Yeah.
And how it relates to our spiritual evolution. So it's a pretty fascinating topic. And I think we're going to be able to really dig into some of the big questions that people have, like, why are we afraid of death? Or are the choices we make really our own?
Right.
And how can we tap into a higher level of awareness?
It's interesting because I think those are questions that everybody asks at some point in their lives.
Yeah.
You know, and so it's a really rich topic.
For sure.
And I think it's good that they start out just by giving us some clear definitions. Because I think those terms often get used interchangeably.
Yeah.
But they're actually distinct in important ways.
Yeah, I think when most people hear those two words,
right,
they probably think they're the same thing or very similar.
Right.
So how does the article define individual consciousness?
So they describe it as the mental function that everyone has that processes information from our senses and helps us to create that sense of self.
Okay.
So it's basically taking in all this data from the world around us and then using that to shape our unique perspective.
I see. So it's like how we experience and interpret reality based on all that information. Okay. So how is that different then from universal consciousness?
So universal consciousness is like this higher form that connects us all. So imagine like a vast web, you know?
Okay.
And then individual consciousness is like a single thread. It's interwoven into this larger tapestry.
Okay. That's a good analogy.
Yeah.
So individual consciousness is like our own personal operating system.
Right.
And then the universal consciousness is like the internet that's connecting us all together.
Exactly. Yeah.
Where does awareness fit into all of this then?
So awareness is where it gets really interesting.
Okay.
The article defines awareness as a form of self-consciousness.
Okay.
So it's about recognizing that we have these thoughts and feelings, and that we have the power to make choices.
Okay.
It's like waking up and realizing that you're the driver of your own life, not just a passenger.
So do we all possess awareness naturally?
That's a good question.
Or is it something that we have to develop over time?
Yeah, and the article makes a really compelling point about that. They talk about how animals, for example, they clearly possess consciousness, right? They react to their environment. They experience emotions. They even solve problems. But they might not have that same level of self-awareness that humans do. You know, they might not be able to reflect on their own thoughts or question their place in the world in the same way.
That's a really good point.
Yeah.
And it makes you think about all the different ways that there are to experience existence.
Exactly.
It also begs a question, like, if awareness is not innate, how do we cultivate it? What's the process of developing that?
Yeah, that's a crucial question, and the article doesn't shy away from tackling it.
Okay.
One of the first things it talks about is how consciousness relies on duality.
Okay.
You know, those contrasting forces that we experience. Light and dark, good and bad, self and other. They say that these opposing forces help us to make sense of the world and to learn from our experiences.
Yeah, so it's like those contrasts help us to actually define ourselves and figure out who we are.
Exactly. It's like you need the shadows to appreciate the light.
Exactly.
You know? So it's through those contrasts that we grow.
So how do we then move beyond simply experiencing that duality to actually developing a higher level of awareness?
So that's where it gets really interesting. The article says that awareness isn't something that just happens automatically.
Okay.
It actually takes effort and intention.
Okay.
It's not enough to just be conscious. We have to become conscious of our own consciousness.
Whoa, that's a lot.
Right.
Okay, yeah, I can see how that would take some real effort to do.
Yeah.
Do you think that living in today's world makes it even harder to do that?
Oh, absolutely.
Because we're bombarded with distractions constantly. And messages telling us what to think and what to buy.
Right. Yeah, it's like we're constantly being pulled in a million different directions. And it's so easy to lose touch with that inner voice.
Yeah, for sure.
You know?
Yeah. So the article is saying that modern society doesn't actually encourage us to develop true awareness.
That's right.
So how do we break free from that cycle then?
Well, the article proposes a really interesting idea. They say that shifting our focus from doing to being might be the key.
Okay. I'm intrigued.
Right.
So what exactly does that look like in practice?
So it's about creating space for quiet reflection.
Okay.
For connecting with your inner self without the constant need to be productive.
Okay.
Or achieve something external.
Okay, yeah.
It's about tuning in to that inner voice and asking yourself those deep, meaningful questions.
Okay.
Much like the philosopher Socrates did.
Right.
You know?
So it's quieting the noise of the world and really listening to our own inner wisdom.
Exactly.
How do we access that wisdom?
Yeah, that's the question.
And what is that bridge?
Right.
Because the article mentions the soul and spirit and talks about a bigger picture.
Right.
So maybe that's where we'll find some answers.
You're on the right track.
Okay.
And in the next part, we'll delve into the article's perspective on the soul, spirit, and this idea of a larger spiritual reality.
Okay, this is already blowing my mind wide open.
I know, right?
So we'll be right back after a quick break to continue our deep dive into awareness and consciousness. Stay with us.
So welcome back. Before the break, we were starting to talk about the soul and spirit and this idea of a bigger picture.
Yeah, I'm really curious to kind of unpack that a little bit more.
Me too.
Because the article uses this really beautiful analogy to describe the soul. It says that the soul is like a bridge between our mind and body and the spiritual realm.
Right.
It's like our soul is helping us to translate the language of the spirit.
That's a great way to put it, you know? Yeah. The article is suggesting that while our individual consciousness is very much rooted in our minds, awareness is more closely connected to the soul and its connection to something larger than ourselves.
So if our mind is focused on processing the physical world around us, our soul is tuning into a different frequency.
Right.
And tapping into that spiritual realm.
That's the idea that they're exploring. Yeah.
Okay.
And it actually connects back to that concept from Socrates, that all knowledge already exists within us. We just need to remember it.
Right.
So the article proposes that the soul holds that knowledge, that deeper wisdom, and that becoming aware is like remembering something we already know deep down.
That's a powerful image.
Yeah.
Okay, so we have this well of wisdom within us, and awareness is the key to unlocking it.
Right.
But I'm still a little fuzzy on how this all fits together.
Okay.
They mentioned this pyramid analogy.
Right.
What was that all about?
So the pyramid analogy is a way of visualizing spiritual evolution.
Okay.
So imagine that you're at the bottom of this pyramid, weighed down by illusions and false beliefs.
Okay.
And then as you cultivate awareness, you start to shed those layers and move up the pyramid toward a state of greater simplicity and clarity.
So it's a process of stripping away the things that are clouding our perception.
Exactly.
The things that are keeping us stuck.
Yeah.
But what's the top?
Yeah. So they say that the peak represents pure awareness.
Okay.
A state of complete connection with our soul in the universe.
That sounds like a big challenge.
It is a challenge. It requires effort, a willingness to question our assumptions, and a commitment to really looking inward.
So it's challenging, but also incredibly rewarding, it sounds like.
It is, yeah.
The article also talks about death.
Right.
What was their perspective on death?
So they tackle this fear of death head on, and they suggest that it's not an ending, but a transition.
Okay.
They challenge us to consider what truly defines us.
Okay.
Is it our physical bodies?
Wow.
Or is it something more enduring?
So it makes you think about what happens to our consciousness when our physical body is no longer here.
Exactly, yeah.
Are they saying that the level of awareness that we achieve in this life might actually impact what happens after death?
It seems to imply that, yeah. They say that someone who's deeply attached to their ego and material possessions might carry those attachments with them.
Right. Even after their physical body is gone.
I see.
But on the other hand, someone who's cultivated awareness and a connection to their soul might have a very different experience.
Okay.
So it really highlights the importance of this journey of self-discovery and awareness.
So it's not just about living a good life in the conventional sense.
Right.
It's about living a life that is conscious.
Yeah.
Where we're actively seeking understanding and growth.
Exactly.
What were some of the key takeaways for you that stood out from the article?
For me, it was the interconnectedness of everything.
Okay.
You know, the mind, body, soul, spirit, consciousness, awareness. They're not separate entities.
Okay.
They're facets of a unified whole.
Okay.
and recognizing that interconnectedness can unlock a deeper understanding of ourselves and our place in the universe.
We're all pieces of this giant puzzle,
Right.
and awareness is the key to seeing how we fit in.
Exactly.
Remember how we were talking about duality? Yes, how consciousness uses contrasting forces to help us understand the world.
Yeah, so the article is saying that even though duality can be helpful for us to categorize and understand things, those divisions that we perceive are ultimately an illusion.
That's right. They're suggesting that through awareness, we can transcend the limitations of the mind and access a deeper level of truth. It's about shifting from a fragmented view of reality to a holistic one.
That's a big shift.
It is, yeah.
So how do we actually cultivate that awareness?
Right.
Where do we start?
So they point back to self-reflection and that idea of Socratic dialogue. Remember, Socrates believed that we already possess all knowledge. We just need to remember it.
And that inner dialogue, that conversation between our mind and our soul is crucial.
It is, yeah. It's about asking ourselves the right questions, digging deep into our beliefs, and allowing our souls to guide us toward the truth.
And they emphasize the need to question everything.
Yes, even our most dearly held beliefs.
Yeah, that's a tough one.
It is.
But I can see how that could lead to some incredible breakthroughs.
It can. It's a journey.
Yeah.
And they remind us that awareness is not a destination. It's an ongoing process. It's about continually shedding those layers of illusion and moving closer to our true selves, to that state of pure awareness that we talked about earlier.
And maybe along the way we'll find ourselves less afraid of the unknown.
Maybe so, yeah.
Even death itself.
Right.
Because we're starting to understand that death isn't an ending, but a transition.
It's a continuation of that eternal journey.
This has been very eye-opening.
Yeah, me too.
But we're not done yet.
No.
In the next part, we're going to explore some practical applications of these ideas and offer some advice on how to start cultivating greater awareness in your own life.
Sounds good.
Stay tuned. Welcome back to the show, everybody. This exploration of awareness and consciousness, guided by this article from The Spiritual Seek, has really been quite a journey.
It has.
One of the most thought-provoking ideas we keep coming back to is this call to question everything.
Right.
It's like the article is almost daring us to doubt even our most deeply held beliefs.
It is a challenge, but remember, awareness isn't passive.
Right.
It requires effort, introspection, and a willingness to confront those comfortable assumptions.
Yeah, it's so much easier to stay in our comfort zones.
Right.
But isn't there a risk in becoming too attached to those beliefs?
Absolutely. The article talks about how true growth often requires us to step outside those comfortable boundaries.
So how do we put this into practice?
Right.
How do we embrace doubt as a tool for spiritual evolution?
It can feel counterintuitive at first, but it starts with cultivating a sense of curiosity, approaching our beliefs with a willingness to look beyond the surface and explore different angles. We need to get comfortable asking why more often instead of just accepting things at face value.
So training your minds to be more inquisitive. It's almost like we're detectives, searching for clues to a deeper truth.
Exactly.
And that inner dialogue plays a crucial role here as well, right?
Absolutely. It's about creating that space for honest self-reflection, where we can gently challenge our beliefs and open ourselves to new perspectives.
That makes me think about the tests that the Spiritual Seek offers.
Right.
They seem designed to help us to look inward.
They are.
And assess our level of awareness.
Right.
Those tests can be helpful.
They can.
I'm adding those to my to-do list.
Me too.
So as we kind of wrap up this deep dive here, what's one final thought-provoking takeaway you want to leave our listeners with?
I think since the article puts so much emphasis on questioning those assumptions, even the ones most precious to us, I would pose this question to you, the listener. What is one belief that you hold most strongly? One that perhaps defines how you see the world or yourself? And then, what might happen if you dared to explore that belief from a different angle, even one that feels uncomfortable? What new insights might emerge?
That's a powerful question.
It is.
It reminds us that this journey of awareness is ongoing, always evolving.
Exactly. There's always more to uncover, more to understand.
So to all of our listeners out there, keep questioning, keep exploring, and keep expanding your awareness.
And remember to check out The Spiritual Seek.
Yes, great resource.
For more on your journey.
Awesome. Well, until next time.
See you then.